It looks like we're live.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm John Andrew Williams.
And hi, everyone. I'm Raj Anderson.
And we are here to answer questions around all things coaching. Raj and I are going to meet once a week to field questions from the community, also known as yourselves. And the goal is to help you grow along your coaching journey. Let's start with a brief introduction. So Raj, who are you and what do you do?
Thank you, John. So I'm hoping that there's some people that already know us on here. I'm Raj Anderson. I'm one of the trainers and assessors at Training EDU. I'm also a coach. I have my own practice. I've been in people-centered services for over 20 years, 22 years. And I'm just really excited to team up with John because we get questions all the time. So we wanted to do a weekly chat and just give you the opportunity to ask us live questions. What are you curious about? John, what else do you want to share about why we're doing this?
Right, this is episode 001. So hopefully years from now, we will look back and go, oh, look at us. Look at how young and vibrant we looked, and decades from now, how this Q&A podcast, webinar, live thing has grown. Yes, that's my hope and intention for this. Who I am a former high school Latin teacher. I started my career teaching Latin to young people. I loved it, and I thought this is going to absolutely change the world when I found life coaching and thought, what if we put life coaching together with education? Hence the birth of academic life coaching, which then led to a pretty big couple of years with doing research, which led down to executive coaching. I did some executive coaching, wellness coaching, looking at the executive world is looking at the wellness world for inspiration. And out of all of that came Coach Training EDU, which has now been, I've been training coaches since 2009. So it's like 12 years of coach training. And I think we're now, I think we're over 4,000 coaches trained in over 60 countries. And it's a thing. I feel like it just keeps growing. And the idea of the change that, to revolutionize education and to make an impact in the executive and wellness fields is happening. So that's my background. And my intention for this is to build community, build understanding, and have a place where we can connect, and for us to get to know people and for people to get to know us, and a little bit more about the internal workings of Coach Training EDU.
So for John, for people that aren't that familiar, they kind of know what coaching is, but they're not that sure. What's your way of describing what coaching is to people?
Right. I had the evolution of how I described life coaching, I felt like went through different stages. Like when I first started, I felt like I really wanted to give a complete definition of everything that needed to happen. So I found that it's helpful to have a couple different degrees of definition or types of definition, and to lead with intrigue, if that makes sense. So my current definition of what life coaching is, it is the practice of helping someone determine what it is they really, really want, and then designing their life to achieve it. It's awareness as well as design. And in there is a little bit of accountability between sessions to make and learning, between those sessions, see what's going on in that space. That's my current definition of coaching. Raj, what definition do you go with when people ask you?
I like to tell stories. I'm quite creative, so I like to put a description around it. And for me, coaching is a bit like, it's a bit like emotional fitness for me. You got to check in with yourself. You've got to continue to grow your emotional and mental state. I often say to people, you wouldn't go to the gym once and expect to be in great shape. Yet often we may neglect having some kind of space where we can review, what's taking place for us, or even being able to set goals, or to be able to stretch and grow ourselves. So if I think about myself as a coach, You know, I am there to support somebody with their goals. I'm there to support them to process where they're at. I'm there to support them to have a look at what's getting in their way from stopping them from growing. So it's like a creative framework, a pathway that helps you to kind of discover what got you here and then how you can move to go wherever else you want to get to.
Absolutely. Yes, I like that one. I have another one I use sometimes too. Another one I use is I say coaching basically uses the same kind of skills and concepts of sports psychology, where you look at perspectives, different motivation styles, goal setting, habit creation, all of those things that you would use in sports psychology, you apply to your life and other areas of your life, both the internal and external worlds. I go with that one sometimes too. Yeah.
I love that. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about sometimes questions that I get asked as well around, I'm a new coach, but I've been a consultant for years, or I've been a trainer for years, or, I'm an executive, for example. And people can get a little bit afraid of selling coaching, or what's the value add. What would you share with them about that?
Right. I mean, I think the biggest insight for me came when I was, just starting out. So I got coach trained early, like 2003, 2004 is when I started this journey. And I found this book, Selling the Invisible. And I have it. I'm gonna go grab it. But I wrote the author, and his name is escaping me. I'm gonna go grab it. Get this book. Harry Beckwith. And little did I know, this is back when I was in Portland. So I was living in Portland, Oregon at the time. I got this book, Selling the Invisible, and I wrote to Harry a note, and I said, "Hey, I'm in Portland. I'm a coach. I got this book. This is have a great big impact. Love it." And he said, "Hey, I'm actually going to Portland in a couple months. Do you want to meet up?" And I thought, this is amazing. What? It's like magic. And the number one thing I got from this book is that when you're trying to sell something invisible, like coaching, you can't sell the process of coaching. An example I use quite often is it's kind of like going to buy a car, and then the salesperson talks to you about combustion. They sit you down and said, "Yes, see, combustion works, so therefore you should buy this car." It's the same kind of deal with coaching. You can't say, "Well, asking open-ended questions with curiosity and empathetic listening works, so you should go ahead and enroll in my coaching practice," right? It's not going to happen. So what I got from Harry's book was this idea that if you can identify people's pain points, identify the things that are really the owies in their life, then you can you have their buy-in, you have their attention. And then once you have their attention, you can say, "Hey, do you want to do a sample session? Do you want to experience it?" That's what I did to build my own practice, was to identify the pain points of parents and young people and talk about them, and stress around grades, anxiety about the future, and frustration in relationships. Like, I still have those 3 pain points down, and had whole presentations built around them. That is what launched my private practice in coaching. So and executives, the same thing. I mean, the pain points executives deal with, and it's often the same kind of thing: stress around performance, right? Anxiety about the future, and frustration in relationships. Like, we are all human beings with these owie points. And when you look at, and if you can talk about them on your coaching website, or identify them, or even get the people who are asking about coaching, what is coaching? You can even turn it on them. Say, what is one of the biggest challenges you have in your life? And they will say, "Well, this is it." And then that's the beginning of their personalized definition of life coaching.
More and more people are training to become coaches as well, aren't they? I think about, I coach a lot of execs. I do a lot of women in leadership work. I'm often working with executives around their executive brand or brand expansion. Sometimes they want to start thinking about, sooner rather than later, a retirement plan. And what I used to hear a lot of is, once I finish this exec role, I'm probably going to go and train to be a consultant. But more and more I'm hearing from the clients that I work with, I think I'd like to train to be a coach. And I'm just curious, I was thinking about this the other day. What do you think the shift is towards coaching? Where is that coming from?
Yeah, awareness of coaching is definitely increasing. I mean, we've talked a lot about this. When I started out in 2003, life coaching was a silly name. And I remember hearing it for the first time thinking, and Moise was talking to me about it. She only got into it because her dad was an Olympian and was into all of the sports psychology. And we both were Division I athletes, and we got it. It made sense to us because of that athletic background. And so then when she got into it, she went to a workshop. This is back when we were still in Providence, Rhode Island, where we went to school. And after that workshop, she said, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I said, great, do it. So she went to the weekend workshop. She volunteered me as a practice partner for one of her fellow people going through the training. And I still remember that conversation. It was a Saturday night and it was amazing. And I thought to myself in real time, this is a pretty cool conversation. I wish I had this conversation like more often, more earlier in my life kind of thing. And that was really the start of our involvement in coaching, was a very tangible experience. And that's where I think that has happened both on a micro level, but also on a macro level, where more and more people have had that direct experience of what coaching is, especially in executive worlds. That has seeped into the wellness world, and it's also seeped into the therapeutic world. So there is this idea of coaching out there in the ethers of it's becoming well known. More and more people are having experience with it. Some people aren't trained, and that used to make me really mad. Like, get trained, go do this. But now I realize it's part of the deal until it becomes regulated, which it might. Who knows? But I think in the last 3-4 years, especially, more and more companies are hiring in-house coaches, and we're hearing more and more of our graduates getting hired full-time than ever before, or working with like organizations that might hire a number of coaches. So I feel like it's been a slow and steady growth, but in the last 4 years, it's really starting to take off. I'm curious, your experience, Raj, like what do you see from your perspective? Mostly, I mean, your perspective mostly comes from the executive world.
Yeah, it does. And I'm thinking about the question that I get asked a lot, can you make a living as a coach? And you just sharing some examples there. What I have found, even in the last 18 months to 2 years, and I think with the adversity of the pandemic, is organizations, a bit like an awakening in a sense, really realizing that it's important to take care of their staff. And we've talked about this at great length before. You take care of your staff, they're going to take care of the customers. So I see positions popping up all the time, actually. So anyone who's listening and is, I've got a certification, I've got accreditation, I'm thinking about this, what are the opportunities for me? I see opportunities all the time. There are organizations out there that are specifically just offering coaching and are looking for coaches as freelancers. As you said, there are organizations that are looking for full-time coaches. So if you're like me and you love all things coaching, there are opportunities out there. I'm with a few business schools as well, who, as part of their MBA programs have coaches, or they work with businesses, and they, you're a freelancer and they connect you up with a coach. I myself, I freelance with a number of different organizations. I love it all. This is why I'm with Coach Training EDU, and I have my own practice as well. But I think if you really believe in coaching and you're passionate about it, you'll see the opportunities popping up.
Absolutely. And that is a really long train whistle. Can you hear that on your end too?
Yes.
I love trains, but that is an exceptionally long train whistle. And I was
in line with me speaking.
It's just underlining all of that. Just a big yes to the growth in the industry. So I feel like we've gone through what is life coaching, question 1. Can you make a living as a coach? Question 2. So question 3 is, what is the International Coach Federation?
So International Coach Federation, as I know it, it's a body that's attempting to regulate coaching. You'll probably be able to explain that better than me, John. They've got thousands of coaches as part of their membership. So the International Coach Federation kind of is attempting to put some kind of framework and regulation in place to give coaches out there, I guess, a bit of a status as well. I'm a certified coach and I'm accredited coach. So for example, you would get certified with Coach Training EDU, which is an accredited body. So they have a number of organizations under the International Coach Federation. Doesn't deliver the training themselves in that sense, but they accredit organizations such as Coach Training EDU to deliver the training for them. What they do is they have the competencies and framework in place so that we can have some kind of measure and some regulations around competencies and qualities to hold coaches accountable to, so that you can get certified in line with a certain standard and a certain level of training, so that you can put a structure and a framework around it. And then you can be a member of the International Coach Federation, or you can take your certification to them and get accredited, which a lot of coaches love, because you then have those letters after your name. You can become the Associate Certified Coach, ACC, Professional Certified Coach, PCC, Master Certified Coach, as we have John here, who is one of our MCCs and Masters, and what I am working towards myself. But what I find with the ICF as well is, because it is a body that is attempting to put this framework around the coaching world, it kind of gives coaching a lot more credibility out there. I mean, in Europe, you have the EMCC as well. What am I missing, John? What else would you add?
No, that's complete. Yeah, that is what the ICF is doing. They are a nonprofit attempting to provide standards for the coaching field. I think the origin story of it is fantastic. It was founded in 1995, and it came out of a competition almost, or two competing coach training organizations deciding that standards needed to be had. And it was, I feel like it's an achievement. It's a human achievement to have a nonprofit organization like this that does have ties to other organizations, and it's attempting to really create standards for coaching. There's also the health board that's recently come up in the last couple of years that has even more strict standards around coaching and specifically health and wellness coaching, that is now in the process of looking at coaching as something that you could charge health insurance for. And Coach Training EDU is in the process with the health board to get accredited through them as well. I think what's going to happen with the ICF is they're going to continue to expand. A lot of their strength is in being early, being one of the first organizations to put standards together. Their global reach is impressive. They're in so many different countries, and they just have a lot of members. A lot of people are involved. What I see, the health board, they have it's amazing that you could even have this conversation of using, health insurance to pay for coaching. I mean, that's amazing. I think what's going to happen is a state in the future is going to regulate coaching, and that will just make it even more substantial. And other education institutions are also going to adopt more coaching. But what's interesting is those education institutions that are doing that, they're also using either the health board or the ICF as one of their standards as well. It really has, really set the standard for what coaching is in the field. So, yeah, I think the ICF is, it will play a role in whenever a state adopts coaching. The ICF standards will be one of those that will set the foundation for whatever the state chooses to do. It's exciting. I feel like it's a really exciting time to be in the field because it's growing. And what's happening now is that there's a specialization happening. If the health board thing starts to really take off and insurance gets, it becomes a thing, that is just a huge opportunity for the coaching world.
Yeah. And it certainly makes you more desirable as a coach if you've been through a training program, like with Coach Training EDU, 6 months of a training program where you have committed yourself to learn, but also be vulnerable as a human being, because, I love my whole experience at Coach Training EDU, because not only was I training to be a coach, but I was learning so many new things about myself, which I didn't think I fully understood before I went in to the training. Why is it created that way?
I think part of it is I have a teaching background, and I think I approached, when I was coach trained, I love my training. I went through CTI, and it was influential. It really had a big impact on me. I also went through NLP training with Linda Gale Campbell, who's based out of Seattle. And I just did extensive research and some acting training as well. A lot of coaching comes from acting, the different ideas of, narrative therapy, just narratives, perspectives, even persons of listening, things like that from NLP. And I went through this really intense period of study and tried to learn as much as I possibly could. And I designed the whole training specifically to help coaches work with young people, which no one else was doing, and very few people are doing now. And it just sort of, it just went. And when I designed it, I really wanted to create something that was as interactive as possible, because that's where people learn the best, is when you do the things. So it came out of this online, I developed it completely, no in person. And this is back in 2009, no in person, because it was too hard to get people interested in life coaching and working with youth. It was too hard to get enough people in one physical space at the same time to make that happen. So by necessity, I had to design a program that was online based. And I had Gina from Boston and Rawan from Dubai both contact me within a couple of weeks of each other, both asking if I could train them to be coaches. And I thought, this is a sign from the world that it needs to happen. So I said, okay, let's try it. And that was the start of it. It was Rawan on Skype and Gina through speakerphone. And it was Monday mornings, early Monday my time, because Dubai was a full 12-hour time shift from the West Coast. And that was the start. It was very minimal, very much me just talking about what I was doing with students. And I had already developed a workbook for young people. And that was really helpful as a guide. And since now, we have whole learning management systems. We have 150-page trainer guides that go along with the 300-page guide for coaches that go along with all this audio recordings and everything. So it really has grown organically from that very small, humble beginning to where it is today. But at the heart of it, I wanted to always make it as interactive as possible. and to share as much of what I've learned in this journey with the participants going through it, so they could also be successful in establishing their own practices. And that is part of the heart of the mission of Coach Training EDU, is to provide, an immersive, transformative experience, and then also give as many resources as we can, examples as we can, so that people can go out and be as successful in establishing their own practices. That's the vision of how I chose to spend my professional life changing the world. And here we are today. It's happening. And it's dreamy, like it's extremely dreamy. Sometimes I have to remind myself that this is real and impact can be real, and the lives are being changed through the coaching profession. And I feel so grateful to have found coaching when I did, to have Amois, have her in there, and then to have this team is amazing. I feel like the team at Coach Training EDU it's remarkable when you have a group of people who are aligned around a mission, aligned around a common experience of what coaching has done in their own lives, and then has a commitment to work together to create that. And that's what we have right now. And it's growing. And I feel like we're just beginning, even though we've been doing it for 12 years. There's still that element of excitement and, I don't know, just, we can do this. It can happen. It's a lot of work. It's hard. It's not always easy. And I do cry bitter tears and I'm stressed out a lot of the time, but on a larger level, let me take a step back and look at this. The very real experience of changing a life one at a time is so motivating that I can't imagine doing anything else.
Thank you, John. I felt your heart when you were sharing that, and I'm just as passionate to be part of this team. So what's next? What are we asking of our audience? How do we want them to get involved?
Well, I think that's good. I feel like what do we say? We're going to do like a half hour, 25 minutes. Like we want to end it on time. So I feel like in order to keep it sustainable, we gotta, so what did we get through? 3 questions? We thought we would get through 30, but we got through 3. So that's good. Yeah. So we have questions for the future. I think the main thing is, if there's a specific question you want to hear, let us know. Yeah. And I really love a good Q&A. I feel like it keeps it fresh, and also, we are coaches. We are trained questioners, trained listeners, and also trained answerers. I feel like in the coaching process, in the process of getting coach trained, you have to answer too. You have to feel like what it feels like to be a client. There is a certain quality of answer, I think, that happens when the person listening is actually listening, like really deeply listening to you, not just listening to themselves listen to you. And that's a big distinction, but I feel like that should be for next time.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to invite everyone to send us your thoughts, ask us questions. We love questions. It's our bread and butter. So we get questions all the time. I get them via email, but now is the opportunity. We're going to be on here every week. Let's answer some of your burning questions that you have, whatever it is around coaching. We're here to support you.
I feel like the structure might be 3 questions. That's all we get. We just get 3 questions and we just go for it and see how we do with it. Raj, thank you. This is really fun.
Thanks, John.
Ashley, thank you for setting up in the back end. You're amazing. And thank you, community. See you next week.
Yep. See you all next week.